I think culture is something which is not entirely new to humans. In fact, culture is something which is distinct feature of human beings. Others have not demonstrated that. Other animals don't demonstrate their abilities. So culture is nothing but a behavioral trait, right? Which is followed, right? And which is passed on from generation to generations. They're very active on the social media. They're very active in terms of the newer age techniques in terms of grabbing certain information, grabbing certain data. So talk about gamification and all of that. Those things definitely are going to be an interesting, I would say, a way.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Gaurav Batra show. Today we are going to talk about an interesting topic which is called cybersecurity culture. Most of the organizations have issues and challenges that how to do an awareness program in the organization, how to build cybersecurity as part of each and every activity they want to do, either it's a product development, IT security, software development, or procurement. So, but people don't know how to do that effectively. And to have a discussion on this, I have an industry veteran who is 20 years of experience, my friend, mentor, and he's currently Group CISO at HDFC Life. So he's none other than Kalpesh Doshi. So Kalpesh, welcome to the GB show.
Pleasure.
So how was the journey to the Mandu? Was it traffic outside?
Peak car in Mumbai is, they'll never be asking. But yeah, it was good enough. Not that bad.
Fair enough. So coming back to the topic today, which I just announced that we are going to talk about cybersecurity culture, right? So what this terminology is all about? Would you like to tell the audience that what does it mean?
I think culture is something which is not entirely new to humans. In fact, culture is something which is distinct feature of human beings. Others have not demonstrated that. Other animals don't demonstrate their abilities. So culture is nothing but a behavioral trait, right? Which is followed, right? And which is passed on from generation to generations. So if you really look at it now, of all of this from an organization perspective and security perspective, we always say organization has a culture. When I say organization has a culture, it is a culture on what works, what doesn't work. It is a culture of how you approach your goals. Because every organization has distinct goals, how they approach, right? It is something which is unique and something which is very common across everybody in their organization. So that's what is culture. And I also believe culture is something where after a certain time, it becomes and it happens at unconscious level. You don't even realize that you're doing certain things and which is contributing to a certain outcome. Same thing if you now apply this to security. I think security culture is all about creating that right behaviors, right, across organization, so that everybody has a common definition of what is security. Everybody has a common goal for protecting their digital assets, right? And everybody understands on the common techniques to protect their digital assets, right? So it's more of a collective responsibility. It is more of passing on the learned lessons, right, across to everybody in the organization, and then making sure that you benefit out of it. So that's my idea of a culture for security.
Okay, I think in a nutshell you have explained it quite well. And when I say cyber security specifically, the culture, what all elements you think? Because organization are doing many different activities. What are the elements when I talk about cyber security culture are included as part of it?
I think if you really look at elements, Gaurav, it would be encompassing almost everything, right? So rather I would focus on the ingredients, right? What are the ingredients to build a right culture, right? The ingredients to build a right culture would start with the fact that security is everybody's responsibility, right? It will start with a lot of focus on awareness, right? Because end of the day, right, a CISO today doesn't only have a role of implementing a certain tool. A CISO's role is way bigger, right? Because as CISO gets a seat in the boardroom, right? We're not excited about the fact that wow, finally we have a seat in the boardroom. But what we also have to be aware of it is, are we creating the right awareness at all levels, right? I'm sure you'll be thinking, what has awareness to do with the board? And I'll again come back. Board today is way more aware of cyber than it was 5 years back, right? But all said, all done, right? Still, the language, right, that's spoken by the CISO is not understood often by the board. I don't blame them because board always has a distinct responsibility. It is more on ensuring compliance, more on ensuring the revenues, more on ensuring the business goals are achieved. So somewhere I do believe CISOs will have to evolve and make sure. So awareness is an important ingredient at all levels. Spoke about the board, right? Also believe one more important thing as part of the culture is you should be better ready. And always believe organization should be better ready because the way you look at security, it is not that you are able to defend your phone 99 times. There's that one time where your defense is failed, right? It could be one link, one person who clicked on the wrong link, right? And all your efforts would all go in vain, right? So it's also that more important, right? That is your team battle ready. Because response will always define whether your organization is going to be able to sustain the storms which are going to come in future, or will it fall, with any of the storms which are going to come in the future. When I say storms, I'm talking about incidents, and events which happen. I don't think any organization today can go back and say that I can never have an incident. Everybody will have an incident at some time. So better readiness is all about making sure that we are ready. We are all groomed, right? We need to have a playbook. Again, link it back to awareness. Everybody needs to know their role. Culture is again at an unconscious level, right? So even if it had to happen at the midnight, you wake up a person and they would exactly know what is expected out of them. I think that's more of a culture. I think the other aspect is we need to have security champions, right? As I said, security is everybody's business, right? So one sure recipe for failure is organization that feels today that entire responsibility of cyber is with the cyber team or with the CISO. I think that's a recipe for disaster, and then you'll never have a culture out there. So for that, you need to make sure that everybody you create those champions within the business units, you create those champions within the functions, who would then become kind of an integral part of your overall journey. That's where the culture will become. The cultural change will happen because you need to have your own people within every. You have to plant them across the ecosystem, who then kind of amplifies your messages, your objectives, and what are we there to achieve, right? It's also rewarding because like even animals today, right? If you don't reward them, right, they wouldn't care much about you, right? So how do you incentivize, right? That's also an ingredient, right, of creating the right culture. I think, and last, but again, I believe it's very important is keep it very simple, right? This is no rocket science. Humans, right, by design, they expect things to be very simple. Then they have to deploy, then they have to implement, and they have to follow guidelines. And they have developed extremely complex processes when they are asked to develop something or implement something, right? So we are on two ends of the pendulum, right? Depending on am I a consumer or am I a provider, right? I do believe if you keep it simple, right, it will be easy for people to relate, right? B, it will be very easy for people to adopt because anything which is complex, you will try it once, you will try it twice, third time you'll give up. So the idea is don't make it so complex that people believe giving up is a better choice than working hard on us.
So from your conversation, I take two critical points. One, you're saying the CISOs and security people need to understand the business, and on the other side, business need to understand security and their responsibility, and we have security champions so that the ecosystem will create where both are talking to each other, right? And the last point which you mentioned, that create an effective but simple awareness program which will reach out to each and every employee. So now I will, ask you again that what can be that program and how we can make it more effective. From your experience, what all you have seen in industry, I think there are many vendors, many solutions, And when I talk to CISOs, or in an organization, they say that we are running the effective program from our side. It's the best program which we have ever run, but employees are not visiting the website. They are not going and doing the training. They are not ready to learn. What do you, with your experience, can be an effective program which actually hits the right target?
I think, Gaurav, this is something that everyone in the industry is struggling to find an answer, and whoever finds, right, it will be a eureka moment for them, right?
Okay.
But I think my take on this is again, very simple, and it is keep it simple.
Mm.
So there is a word, keep it the KISS approach, right? So I'll just say keep it simple, and it will be hash 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 hash, right? But yes, I think that is an integral part of it. Also, I believe today the awareness thing, we need to revisit the entire journey of awareness, right? It started with some mandatory PPT, which was said you could click, 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 and people click, people did click, you had no ideas, you went about it.
Mm.
Then you converted that into your learning platforms, right? You force people to spend certain times on every of the slides, right? You ask them certain questions. You make sure that they clear certain kind of quizzes or exams, right? And you rated them, and you created that framework. It worked to an extent because we've seen an evolution. We've seen people becoming more and more aware. But we realized it had its own limitations. So then we realized that we should do simulation.
Yeah.
So physical simulation, we have social media simulation, so a variety of things we're doing. So I think there is a variety of things which are happening. I think now what is needed, which again goes back to show that it's an evolution. It will constantly evolve, right? Today, if you're asking me, I will have an X answer. Maybe you talk to me on the same topic after a quarter, I may have a different answer.
Yes.
Because priorities will change. And I think learning or evolution is something that will always keep on changing. The priorities will keep changing. And that's a beauty of the overall the way we operate in our world, right? So the focus today is as everybody embarks on digital, right? There's a huge push across every industry. It is not limited to a certain sector, right? So usually people believe BFSI is where the action happens, and I kind of refuse today to believe that. If you see the kind of the action which is happening on the education front, phenomenal. We've never seen that, right? See the healthcare, it's picking up big time, right? So I think there is no one industry today that is left, I would say, left apart in terms of the digital journey. Everybody is finding newer ways to provide newer services.
Yeah.
As you're finding newer ways, as you're finding newer services, as you're planning to do things that you've never done in the past, right? The integral part is, if you're talking about culture, is you have to embed security into everything that you do, right? It cannot be the case that security is an afterthought, right? So again, a recipe for disaster is if your security teams are not involved from day one when idea is conceived, right? You have to realize, like you have a stool, right? That has 3 pillars. One of the pillar is already missing, right? You'll never get the stability. You'll never get the desired outcomes. You'll never be able to load it with a weight, for it to really perform its job. So I think that's where again the culture comes in, right? We can give a lot of jargons to it, DevSecOps, Shift and that. Those are just enablers, right? Let's talk about the essence. The essence is you have to make sure that every time you think about anything which is to do with your digital assets, security is being considered, it is being factored. You look at everything which is going to have a security impact, and then go about making those, I would say, provisions, right? If you do that, right, the advantages are multifold. The advantages is you'll have a competitive edge. How many times has it happened? Okay, let's say I know you bought a car at least in the recent future. Was security not a criteria for you to choose your car?
It's a prime criteria, right?
Exactly. Right, because you realize the car can be at high speeds, right? So I need to have some control that even if it crashes, you don't go back and think about why would it crash. You would not think that I'm not a good driver or something. You would assume that it's going to crash. So what you do? You build that safety net around having the right controls on a secure car. I think that is the same thing that we have to do, a competitive advantage, because customers are getting more and more aware, right? The regulators, and I'm sure with the personal data protection bill, which is in a draft but which will be released soon, right? We're going to see a complete new way of a citizen being aware of their rights, right? So from that perspective, when you really are an organization that takes security seriously, which embeds, and it's embedded is nothing but you make security a part of your culture, right? It's not something which has been retrofitted. It just looks very natural in terms of how things are evolving in an organization. You would have the advantage. Also, such organizations will have a huge edge when it comes to regulatory compliance, right? Because the challenge today, right, if you go back to what I said earlier, it's not 99 things that you do right, right? Or not the 99 times when things are right.
Yeah.
It's that one person, right? It's one time that things didn't go right, right? So no matter how much you try and push people, grow with them, right? That we have to do, it's going to have those cracks, right? That's where culture plays. Culture, if you really look at it, is more something where it, again repeating, but it happens at an unconscious level, right? So people will have to invest there. I think that's
Exactly. So you were talking about pillars, and it's like we have people, process, and technology. So processes, when we are building it, we should be considering security first. Technology, when we are evaluating, we should be considering technology first. The people who are building the process, and people are the ones who are evaluating the technology. So having the right set of security mind is quite important in that case, right? But these awareness programs, when we build and we try to build the culture, what kind of tricks we can see? Because processes, I know if it is working or not. Technology, I can see the results. But people, are they aware or not? Are they going to click that link or not? How we will see if that is getting established and getting formed.
I think I believe matrices are very useful, and you do have matrices now, right? But they're important, right? When you could go back and say that even 1% deviation is acceptable. Right? We're living in the world, right? But even one click is enough for you to be compromised already. So we call it Sigma 8, right? You use it in the aircraft industry. Maybe countries are operating on the same scale, right? So not doing it is not a choice, right? But I do believe how do we determine what is working is through outcomes, right? So if we change our matrices, right, to not what is getting clicked, right? Yeah, that is an important metrics. We are doing it even beautifully today, right? But it could be the fact that people have found out ways and means to understand that this is a phishing mail, right? I'm being tested and I need to be aware, right? Even humans have that tendency of trusting, right? One thing is very simple, Gaurav, is if you really see how the entire industry has been operating, and I do believe that's a very sad part of the evolution is there are so many new tools, right? So same thing on the awareness, right? Phishing simulation, WhatsApp simulation, this simulation, that simulation, right? We get you this, we get you that, all side on that, right? All of it put in place, right? People still click on the links.
Yeah.
Something is obviously not working, right? So what is really something that we have to all think is obviously, right? Maybe humans have a tendency to trust. Is there a role for AI now to challenge and assist humans when they're making those decisions? That's a space which is entirely empty today.
Yeah.
Right? That aid doesn't exist, right? So when you get, and typically it so happens that everybody, I can vouch on that, everybody has clicked on a mail, everybody has clicked on a link that they should have known, right? That includes everybody. There will be no exception in an organization to this rule, right? Somebody says, I haven't, maybe they should, either they're not opening their mails, right? Or they're not aware of what they may have already clicked.
Yeah.
Right? So I think those things are going to be important. So we have to really change the perspective. It's more in terms of how much are we into safeguard our organization, right? And how much are we into culture, right? Are we able to get all of this without having to invest too much onto this, right? Right. So I believe from metrics that everybody should start following this for every investment that you're making in security. Eventually, it should become very natural. I'm not saying you stop your investments, right? It's not that when you plant a tree, you water it every day, right? But the care that you have to do for it should reduce over a period of time. If that is not reducing, you know for sure something is not right and you need to fix
Fair enough, and I think as you mentioned, many tools in the industry. We have even one of our own where we are trying to build the awareness by using the motion graphics with animation and having the gamification in there. Yeah, for the audience, if you guys want to have a look to the Culsight, we have published a recent magazine on security awareness. You can click on the link in the description and visit there and see a lot of things on that. Okay, and what Kalpesh, you think this motion graphic and gamification can have an impact on someone's mind and help them to get more aware?
I think yeah, we're all faced with the challenge for Gen Z, right?
Yeah.
The newer generations which are entering the workforce, they're very active on the social media. They're very active in terms of the newer age techniques in terms of grabbing certain information, grabbing certain data. So talk about gamification and all of that. Those things definitely are going to be an interesting, I would say, a way
Yeah.
to ingrain some of the basic ethos, right, into their brains. A lot of what you want is an expected behavior, right? And that expected behavior has to be common across the board, right? So I think when you talk about the gamification part of it or anything which is helpful to get the attention and to grow,
Yeah.
right? The Gen Zs, or the millennials. I think those are all welcome.
Yeah.
And they should be looked at.
We tried treasure hunt on cybersecurity.
Oh, wow.
I think one of the organizations worked like a charm.
Absolutely.
So people see that it's a different thing. They want to participate, and they were looking into, okay, if this malware, what will happen next? If I click, what will happen next? That's a chain in treasure hunt we created, and it worked like a charm. But for building a culture, leadership plays a very important role by fostering this culture. What challenges you see over there to convince the leadership, or what you think if leadership is onboarded, what kind of benefits and how is it?
I think let's put it. Again, I like to relate a lot of things to our common lives, right?
Yeah.
Even in our family, right? We have a small family, right? Maybe you have it will be your partner, it will be your kids, it will be your parents, right? Even if you have to get them to come to a common view, right? We find it impossible, right? On various occasions. Now, if you extrapolate this to entire, right? Let's say an organization which has diverse people, which has diverse mindsets, which comes from different cultures, right? Different ethnicities, right? But still, you're trying to create one people, right? You're trying to create one robust unit which thinks alike, right? It's not going to be easy. Let's be very honest about it. There are some things which look great on paper, but they look simple on paper, but they're equally tough to be done, right? I think that's where I always feel the role of CISOs are evolving. It started with what was always process guides, right? Somebody would come, implement the best practice, right? Get you certified, and they got all the accolades that they understand, and it was good. It was forming a very good foundation of having the policies. I would say something that can be measured, something that you could re-implement, right? So you created a good foundation, great. Then we realized it was an era of technical gurus, right? So anybody who had technical skills and expertise on certain technical, I would say, tools, people started grabbing that, right? And there was an era. Now is an era where I think leadership is evolving, right? CISO community is evolving, the role is evolving. So now you will have to have a new mindset, right? And that's the biggest challenge for CISOs is we have to change the way we have been thinking all these years, right? We have to change our approach where we start wearing a hat of, let's say, somebody in the boardroom, right? The focus is on the larger, aspect of what the business wants, what are the goals they want to achieve, how can we change our role to be enablers all along, right? Security was always, ask anyone in the business, what is their idea about security? They will say, I want to do XYZ, and my security is one thing. They will say, if you want to do XYZ, ABC, all of them, 1, 2, 3 also, right?
Yeah.
So, how do we change that perception? That's where the culture plays, right?
Yeah.
Why should you get a request for an exception, right? If everybody knows what should be done, right? So I do believe as we evolve, right, we have to see more as enablers change isn't going to be easy. Change is extremely difficult, but we have to start investing. We have to start putting our efforts. And that's why I feel it's no more a managerial role. It's no more a technical role. It is the future CISOs, right, who will maneuver their organizations, will be great leaders, right, and who will be able to wear multiple hats, take multiple responsibilities. It cannot be I would only do X, Y, Z and nothing beyond that, because I'm sure every leader in organization evolves and they step up to what the organization requires from them. I think CISOs also would have to be ready. Challenge is we have just we stereotype ourselves as to doing only one thing and not beyond, right?
Exactly. That's there, and also I think from the business side, even when last when I was with some of the Gartner analysts, they were talking about the cyber judgment, how that is getting built with the business people. So CISOs will define the policies, and the judgment is a business guys need to do. They need to understand. We have to simplify the policies, and all decision making will be with them, right? So one last thing which I would like to know: any successful case study or best practices you would like to share with our audience on cybersecurity culture and how it's been getting done?
I think, Gaurav, again, I always believe security for every human being, right? It's part of our DNA, right? So you're born with an instinct to safeguard yourself, right? So always believe there is no rocket science to security. So if somebody is making it to be rocket science, right, that's a fundamental challenge. So if you ask me what are the best practices, I would put it simple that there is no rocket science to security. It's all about common sense, right? So you have to really deploy that, right? Very important over here is create an ecosystem, right, where you don't overcomplicate things, right? You focus on your digital assets. You focus on what needs to be protected. I think we also have a challenge of we're trying to protect too much, right? It's like everybody at their homes will have a vault, right? But you don't put your replica paper in that vault because the value of that is not much. So as I said, humans are very intelligent. You know exactly what goes into what and what can be even outside your house. But when it comes to your organization, right, do we realize that we are not even classifying the data? Right? So how would anybody else even know how to treat your data? Right? So data is a new oil, right? Make sure that you understand what is valuable. You can't protect everything under the sun, right? You have to. I think there is a fatigue right now because we're trying to protect anything and everything, right? We can't sustain this. We always fall back. Okay, fine, AI is coming, so we'll still be able to manage the chaos, right? So we're trying to find method to the madness. But time will have to come when we'll see enough is enough. The kind of false positives, the kind of EPS we are generating. Today it is impossible for humans to monitor it, right? I'm sure time will come the way we are going ahead with the industry. Even AI will find it difficult to rationalize it and give you only 5 or 7 threat events, which are something that you should focus on, right? So look at culture, look at all these aspects, right? Of how do you really simplify it, right? And I think if you really implement all of this, right? And as I said, make sure that you are seen as an enabler, right? Make sure that a business, right, the vision of the business is something that you take it as your KRI, and always believe you have to create a value for your organization. You have to create a value for your customer. You have to create experience, right, for your stakeholders. So if you really focus on that, right, and after that, the tools, the processes are all basically the ways and means for you to achieve your goals, right? But don't make those tools, processes as your destination. They are just aids to help you reach your destination. I think that is what I can talk about in terms of my experience.
Okay, amazing. I think great insights, and my audience will take benefit out of it. It was really nice talking to you, Kalpesh, and I have something for you. So, Kalpesh, thanks for being on the TV show. There is something for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure being part of the journey, being able to share my views. So thanks for inviting me.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you, everyone. I'll see you in next episode. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.